And we're back. Hey, everybody. It's your host, Darren Carter, the party starter on the Pocket Party Podcast. Did you have a good Christmas? I hope you did. Santa Claus lives on the farm. I got that song stuck in my head. That's my son's song. By the way, he's in the background playing his bass guitar. That's Austin back there. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's podcast time. Anytime I got the podcast on, I'm feeling good, man. By the way, guys, I know there's so many podcasts you could be listening to. Thank you for keeping me in the rotation, all right? Just all I want to do is be in your top 10 podcasts. Keep me in that rotation. We got Mike Black on this one. We talk about so many things. One of the things we were talking about is Charlotte's Web. Austin, you told me that you read Charlotte's Web when you were a kid. I mean, you're 13, you're still a kid, but back when you were in like fourth grade.
Yes, fourth grade.
Yeah. Now, do you like spiders?
They're fine, but I don't want to get touched by one.
Hell no. How about a pig? It's because, Charlotte's Web is about a pig and a spider. Do you like pigs?
They're fine. They're okay. I like them. They're cute.
Oh, that's cool. What's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal is like a bunny rabbit and a lion. I like a lot of animals. I love dogs, cats, all of them.
That's cool. If you could have your own pet lion, would you want one?
Sure.
What would you call the lion? Do you have any idea what you'd call the name of the lion?
I'd call the name of the lion Frosty.
Really?
I don't know. I just thought of something random off the top of my head.
Well, yeah, because you're surrounded still with Christmas decorations. And why are there, still Christmas decorations here? Because we still celebrating Christmas. We ain't letting it go. That's right. How long do you guys leave up your Christmas decorations? I get a kick out of it. The longer that goes by with Christmas being in the past in the rearview mirror, and you see Christmas decorations, take a video of it and send it to me, and I'll most likely repost it. So send it to me, because I love it when it's like January 1st, and we still celebrating Christmas, and then it gets into like January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and so on. So cool, Austin. So Charlotte's Web, we're going to talk about. It's crazy. I didn't realize how deep that. Did Charlotte's Web, did it kind of make you want to cry?
No, not really.
Really? It's sad, man. When the way he breaks it down, I really wanted to. What's that?
I said no, not really, but I did feel a bit sad and stuff in some parts.
Yeah. It's funny because you're transitioning. You were like a child. You still look like a little boy to me, but then your voice is getting deep. And then right now, when you kind of tilted your head, it was looking kind of buff. Like, yeah, I didn't really want to cry at Charlotte's Web, Dad. Yeah. And your voice is getting deep, man. You know what? It's funny because your name is AusTheBassBoss on YouTube.
That's why I'm called AusTheBassBoss. It's mostly because I thought that I could sing lower than Tim Storms, who is currently the lowest singer in the world.
Like the Guinness Book of World Records?
If you want to check out more about it, I'm gonna have a 100 subscriber special coming up very soon.
Wow, because your goal is to sing even lower than like this guy Tim Storms, who has the Guinness Book of World Records for his voice is so deep.
I already can. I just want it confirmed by Guinness World Records.
Oh, you think you can get the lowest note in the world?
Yes, I just want people to. I just want all these YouTubers, like these bass YouTubers, to verify it, and especially Guinness World Records. Like, for an example, you got Marcello Bass, Clapton Dan. Just check out more of those people. They're they're very interesting.
Give us a little sample of how deep you're. Listen, I'll tell you. I'll go as low as I can go, and then see if you can. Without, I know you didn't really warm up your voice at the moment. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna go low. This is Darren Carter. My name is Darren Carter, and now you go.
Austin Carter.
All right, buddy. His eyes are shut. Looks like he's about to fall asleep. That, or it looks like he's.
Anyways, I'm not sure what note I hit, but if you want a lower one, go check out my special, which will be coming up very soon.
That's funny, dude. The look on your.
There's a special guest in there.
There is the look on your face when you do that. It looks like you. We're gonna keep this a family-friendly show, but it does look like you were. Looks like you just had a large meal and you were trying to. Anyways, we're gonna move on from that topic. But Austin, thanks for coming on. Let's get into the podcast, and let's tell people to start that party in their ear holes. 3, 2, 1.
Now start that party in your ear holes!
Do it in a deep voice. 3, 2, 1. Where should we start the party?
In your ear holes. In your ear holes, man. Oh, yeah.
All right, Guinness Book of World Record. By the way, if you like this show, do me a favor, and if you want to help out, go to darrencarter.com. I have a donation button. Every little bit helps. A little PayPal button. I love PayPal. If you love Venmo, I'm at Darren Carter Comic on Venmo. So I'm on Venmo. I'm on PayPal. Every little bit helps, and we really do appreciate it. So thank you so much. All right, let's start that party in your ear holes.
Pocket party.
All right, we're going to call Mike Black. Mike Black, this guy's a wealth of knowledge.
Hello, party starter.
Hello. Wow, it works. All right, cool. We are good to go. How are you, buddy?
I am on a gravy train with biscuit wheels. I'm doing just fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I love talking to you because, number one, you're a great orator. You know so much about so many things, and
I really do. I really and I am a lot of fun to talk to.
There's been times where I'm like, damn, I don't know what I'm going to talk about on the podcast. I mean, I have like a good idea. Like I'm like, okay, I'll talk about these one or two things, and then I get on the phone with you. We just freestyle it, and you.
I feel like when we talk on the phone, there's a part of me, and I think this is probably for you too, where we'll talk for about 20 minutes, and I start thinking we really should have recorded that.
I know. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, I want to be like, save it for the podcast. But then you just become a weirdo where you're like, you're not even living your own life. You're living your life just to have it recorded and broadcast to other people. Right.
Well, that's why we moved here, because we're weirdos that do that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
People get hung up. Other comics have made that same point. They're like, well, then you're just living your life, for other people. Yeah, that's what we packed our bags for.
Yeah, I wasn't the funniest guy at Carl's Jr. for life for a reason. I was like, nope, I'm pretty funny at Carl's Jr.
Yeah, like I made a conscious decision to be that guy.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a reason. I go back to Carl's Jr. That was one of my first jobs, and I remember just like, I had like the polyester pants and the polyester shirt with the collar was all striped up. And I used to make everybody laugh. And my favorite part of Carl's Jr. was working the dining room because.
Now, wait, was that your off-duty clothes or your on-duty uniform?
That was my on-duty uniform.
That would be great if you just switched from polyester to polyester.
Exactly. A pair of black slacks to a pair of brown slacks.
You show up in your Saturday Night Fever gear and you're like, time to switch into my work clothes.
But I just remember that was like, I guess because my mom would drop me off at work and
oh man,
it was like a sense of independence and
just making sure that you didn't get laid.
Exactly. Polyester pants. But I remember like you start because I was on the wrestling team and swim team, so I felt like I kind of looked good in those clothes and like. And I remember, like, I'd make people laugh in the dining room. It was like you're kind of like a waiter, but not really, because you're just bringing a tray of famous stars out to table 47.
I remember that do they still do that?
I don't know. There was a Carl's Jr. in Burbank near where I live, and it's been torn down, and now it's going to be like a fish market or something.
When I first moved here, that was a thing, and I didn't know the protocol, because every other fast food place I've ever been to, they just you pick it up at the counter or they just give it to you, but like I remember sitting down at Carl's Jr. and one of the workers came over to me and I was like, are they kicking me out? I'm just trying to eat. And he was like, do you need anything, sir? And I was like, it was like the beginning of a Western. Like I was waiting for him to make a move and he was waiting for me to make a move.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what you mean. And he goes, like ketchup and stuff. And I was like, I guess if that's okay. And he was like, yeah, it's okay. It's Carl's Jr. And I was like, all right. And then he brought me more ketchup. That's never happened to me at any fast food place ever. except for Carl's Jr.
Yeah, it was Carl's was great, especially like if you're the kind of guy like I was like, man, I don't like being in the back kitchen, just like making fries. And all. I used to love being like in the dining area because they had like this vacuum cleaner like sweeper thing. It was non-electric. I don't know what it's called, like a sweeper.
We use the same one at Blockbuster. It was like the not vacuum is what we called it.
Yeah, so part of my quote duties were to go out there and sweep that and then make sure the salad bar was stocked and stuff the napkin containers. But it was great because you could kind of like
interact with people.
Yeah, interact with people, like waste time in a healthy, fun way. Like you weren't trapped back there. Like so, I'd be out there, but I do remember making people laugh. Like there's a couple radio stations that were nearby, and the DJs would come in, and I would and talk with them about radio or do like some voices for them, some impressions, and make them laugh. And I'm like, man, I actually have a future. I think I could actually do something in show business. But I do remember that look when you just said, like, that's why we moved here. I remember being, 16 years old or whatever I was and looking at myself in the mirror going, I think I can do this, as I have my Carl's Jr. like uniform on. I really could see myself. I could picture myself doing something. I don't know if it was, I didn't know.
Doing this kind of thing. I always thought I never thought I'll be like Harrison Ford or anything, but I always thought I have an interesting enough look that it could be put on film and it wouldn't be weird. It wouldn't be too crazy to do that.
I remember the first big thing that I booked. Well, actually, let me take that back. Okay, so there's two big things that I booked, and then we'll get into today's podcast. But the first local big thing is I got to be on 33 billboards in the Fresno County area, and it was during the drought. And they had me, I was the guy that was talking about water conservation. Like, hey, if your address ends with an odd number, you can water your lawn on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if it's even, So yeah, I had
Don't trust this guy.
Exactly. I had bright red hair. It was, if people have seen old photos of me, I looked like Rick Astley at the time. And I wore like this neon, like 80s style jacket. Like that's what was popular back then.
If they had made you dress just like Rick Astley and sing that song.
Never gonna give you up. Never gonna say goodbye.
Never gonna use too much water to shower.
Take a shower on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Yeah, they just make you do like a whole reworked song for it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That would have been a nightmare.
I know. I actually like that song. I like that song, and I like that together forever and ever. I'll be together forever with you.
You could have done. I bet when you were younger, you could have done parties.
Yeah,
as like a celebrity look-alike thing.
It's funny because I didn't embrace it back then. In fact, I hated it. I was like, no.
You should have leaned into it.
They're like, you look like Rick Astley. I was like, no.
In fact, you could have, done your hair up like even a few years ago.
Exactly.
And done like live Rick rolls of people.
I know. Hey, I kind of did something like that recently. I showed like on my YouTube channel, you can go to click videos where it shows all your videos. So I did like a quick little Insta story of all my videos. Well, not a lot, but like most of my videos, like 25 of them, like all in one frame. And at the very end, I go, and now we're going to go old school. And I cut to Rick Roll,
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. My son loves it because he's a 13-year-old musician. So he's always like Rick rolling us and showing us this kind of stuff. In fact, I think he even did it on some of his earlier YouTube videos. Guys, if you're listening to, go to AusTheBassBoss, AusTheBassBoss, and he'll put like.
How is it?
His name is Austin, so it's AUS the THE boss. No, I'm sorry, AusTheBassBoss, BASSBOSS. AusTheBassBoss.
There's at least one championship speller out there that is going to go to that YouTube channel.
AusTheBassBoss. I know he wrote a Christmas. I don't want to talk about this too much because I've been talking about it everywhere. But he wrote a Christmas song, a country Christmas song. Get this.
Nice.
Yeah, he wrote it because he figured he was going to do like his medley, like a medley of Christmas songs. And then he thought, I'm really not bringing anything new to the table. And he thought, I don't know if there's a lot of like popular country Christmas song. He thought, I'm gonna write one. So he wrote. Get this. This is how fast internet stuff can be nowadays. So he wrote it on Thursday, perfected it. On Sunday, he filmed it. He uploaded it, and it started getting the views on YouTube. People started digging it. And
Yeah.
he actually got to be on the radio at a country station in Fresno.
What?
They devoted 7 to maybe like 8 minutes of interviewing him, having him play the song live on the air. It was
Oh my God.
it's incredible. That's the kind of thing when we were kids, we would just fantasize about that or dream about that, or
Yeah.
like we talk about. There's always the kids that would talk. Oh, I'm going to do this one day. I'm going to do that one day. But
You'd always have those weird fantasies like maybe one of the Jackson 5 will die and they'll need me to do dance moves. With
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
like-
I would watch like an Elvis movie or an Elvis something. I'd be like, or I would picture like I remember in 4th grade, we'd be doing like the sing-alongs like in class, and I'd be like, oh, I wish I could be like Elvis and just jump up on the tables right now and start singing and tap him, and the whole crowd would be into it. And you don't realize, like, I realized immediately when I did karaoke for the first time, like there's a big difference between hearing a song and listening to a song than actually performing it, knowing all the words and the melody.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you ever want to like really hurt your own feelings. put like a song on in your headphones, and then tape you singing it, because it won't hear any of that music. It'll just hear your voice.
Yeah. Oh, that's smart.
And then you play that back for yourself, and it's like, oh, that really hurts.
Yeah.
God, I sound terrible compared to what I thought I sounded like.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. It's almost like you ever read lyrics to a song, and if you're just reading the lyrics, you're like, I don't even know how this is a song. It looks like just a bunch of words, and some of them don't even rhyme. And there's
it's like, how did they know that this would be a song?
Yeah, how do they know? I don't like bapa like it sounds good. Bapa
Well, even like
bapa,
really
bow,
like
bow.
celebrated like Springsteen. You look at some. I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they had like a exhibit for him, and they had a whole wall just with his lyrics on it. And I was like, these sound like the scrawlings of a lunatic.
Yeah.
They don't sound like, they don't make any sense. They're just weird words thrown together.
Yeah.
But you put them to music, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it gives you goosebumps. It paints a picture. You're like, brings you to tears sometimes, like a song. It's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah, like Blinded by the Light. The lyrics don't make any sense to that song. But when you're singing it in your car, it really tells a story.
I wonder what that one part is, because it always sounds like he says douche. Woke up like a douche in the middle of the night.
You know what it is? I looked it up, and it's revved up like a deuce.
Oh.
Like DEUCE. And I think that's a type of engine. But I'm
revved
not
up like a
100%
deuce
sure.
in the middle of... Oh, yeah.
Another runner in the night.
Like a runner in the night.
So I think he's talking about like drag racing and shit.
Oh, yeah, that's probably what it is. That is...
Like, because that was a thing even going back to the 50s. They would have like gut races and stuff.
What's a gut race?
A gut race is where you're racing, like where the finish line. This was how messed up kids in the 50s were. The finish line would be like a train track or the edge of a cliff or something like that. Oh my
gosh.
And so they would they would race, and then whoever bailed out of their car was the loser.
No. Yeah.
And whoever kept going was the winner. And a lot of times the winner would die winning.
Oh, wow.
There were all those songs about like, he's a rebel and like,
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. They were about kids doing crazy crap.
I love that song like this. I think Eddie Vedder covered it. Hopefully you'll know what I'm talking
about.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Where is my baby be? Yeah. Yeah, that's a very similar sort of song.
Yeah, that was one of I bought a guitar about 20 years ago, and that was one of the like simple 4 chords, like G, E minor, C, D, and you just play it over and over, and I go, hey, that sounds like that Eddie Vedder song. And then I realized like there's a million songs that are written in those 4 chords.
There's another one that was very similar to that called Tell Laura I Love Her, and it was about a racetrack driver who it's his dying words are tell Laura I love her.
Tell Laura I love her.
Yeah.
Tell Laura I need her.
Yeah, that was.
Hey, what about this one? I don't know if it's the same style of genre of that, but do you remember that one song, Leader of the Pack? Leader of the Pack.
Totally. That's like probably the most famous of those. Where he like at the end he tries to like escape the cops or something.
Yeah.
Him down.
Yeah. Leader of the Pack. There's another song I wanted to look up. They did a parody of that, and something. I think it's called "Leader of the Laundromat." Do you remember that one? Leader, and he goes, "Hey Murray," and then you hear the piano doing the solo, and he goes, "Hey Murray, who's that banging on the piano?"
Yeah.
Leader,
And a real good parody of that kind of music is the dentist song in Little Shop of Horrors. Do you remember that movie?
I don't know if I know. You know what? I remember. See, here's the thing. That's what I love about you. Like, I am so uninformed when it comes to movies. I know the names of the movies. Like, I'm like, yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay.
Other
Little
than that,
Shop
I don't
of
know.
Horrors, it starred Rick Moranis. It was a musical
He's got a face
based on an old B horror movie. But Rick Moranis plays a guy who works at a plant shop who's always looking for exotic plants. And one day during an eclipse, he finds a plant that grows. You kind of get the idea that the plant came from outer space, and it feeds off of human blood.
Wow.
And so he figures out that's how to make it grow. But it's like a dark comedy, and the plant grows and learns to sing and makes the guy famous. And so he's like, I got to keep feeding it. So he starts feeding it people that suck, basically. He's going around murdering people that are awful and feeding them to the plant.
Oh my gosh.
And if you haven't seen it, it is a fantastic movie. It has, listen to this cast. It's got him, Rick Moranis, John Candy, Bill Murray, James Belushi, Frank Oz, Christopher Guest, Ellen Green, just a ton of great comedic actors.
Wow.
Come through, and Steve Martin, who plays a psychotic dentist, and who's the boyfriend of the girl that he has a crush on. And they do a song that's just like that for him because he's somehow he's a greaser biker dentist.
This sounds like one of those movies. I've heard of it, and then once you tell me about it and I watch it, I'm going to be like, I wish I would have seen this sooner.
Your kid's a musician. You guys have to see it.
Okay.
It's PG. It's PG-13.
Oh, that sounds great. And plus, what's funny, man, is maybe it was just the wrong day or the wrong time of day, or maybe the kids were too young. They were about, I want to say it was my son and his nephews. They probably were 9 or 10. And I was like, let's watch the Goonies. And they weren't, they just, it never quite grabbed their interest.
Yeah.
You know? The Goonies.
It's a different, I think things were just so radically different for kids then than they are now, that going on an adventure like that seemed like a really big deal to us. Oh, yeah. Whereas to kids now, that just doesn't seem all that interesting.
Yeah. It's we grew up riding bicycles, and I remember I took them on a bike ride. And number one, it took forever to get them to learn how to ride bikes, and then when we finally did, they're just they're like, my butt hurts, this hurts, I'm sore.
Yeah,
they're just, it's just kids are just, you know what I mean? If they're not used to riding, I mean, bicycle seats aren't known for being comfortable, anyways. But when you're a kid and you're used to a nice easy boy chair, a headset, VR, video games, you're like, this is
if Goonies happened now, the kids would have never left the house.
Right. Yeah.
They would have solved all that shit on their phones and then gone, oh, okay, so the treasure's here. And then they would just walk over to the treasure area.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or get a lift to take them, to drop them off where the treasure is.
I know. Do you remember how old you were the first time you went to the store by yourself and bought something? Do you have any idea?
God, I was probably in high school.
Oh, wow.
No, I guess earlier. I guess I went in middle school. I went to 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I think it's about, because I'm trying to think what age that would be. My son went to Subway by himself today for the first time, and we gave him the $20, 4 5s, and he ordered sandwiches, and he said it went great. He got his change back, and I said, were there any problems? He said they asked him to speak up a couple times, but other than that, I think. And that might have been because of the mask, and it's a loud store.
Was it everything he hoped it would be, though?
I know. I should actually ask him, because I talked to him briefly about it before we did the podcast, but I was like, dang, I should I'm like, I almost want to interview him about that. What was it like, son? Your first adventure?
Your first, it's a big rite of passage going to Subway.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, he knows exactly. He knows his order. He gets the same thing. But it's like, it's just funny because I remember. I don't know if I remember like something huge like that. I do remember like elementary school, like maybe like sixth grade. But see, there was like a toy store and like a liquor store that sold candy right by our place.
Yeah.
And on the way home, we'd always go in there and maybe like give them 25 cents and get a candy bar. So that I do remember, but that's the thing. It was easy. It was like 25 cents. Here's the 25 cents. I don't even remember if there was tax back then. I just remember a quarter could get you candy.
Well, I remember my dad reminds me of this, but when I was a little kid, we would go on ski trips up in the mountains because I lived in Colorado. And about halfway up, I would have my allowance on me. And I just went into a convenience store about halfway up the mountain. And I had $5 and I looked around the store and I just went over to the cashier and I was like, give me 5 scratch tickets, please.
Oh, really?
And the guy just started laughing. He was like, you're going to have to wait a little while. And I was like, okay. And so I just stood there waiting. And he was like, no, I mean like a few years. Yeah. And I was like, why? And he was like, you can't gamble at your age. I was like, I have $5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said that to the guy. I was like, I have $5. Like I can gamble. I have the money right here. I was like, I know how it works. I'm not, you don't have to loan me credit or anything like that. Like,
that's so
give me
cute.
Points above the vig.
Well, I remember being 21 and I went on a long distance car ride with my grandparents. We went to a family reunion actually in Colorado. We drove from Sacramento to Colorado, and I remember when we went through Reno, I got to gamble, and and I remember like I played blackjack. I think that's like an easy one. I was 21, blackjack. I was like, okay, this is like it's pretty easy to figure out like how to play blackjack. And
yeah, that's the gateway drug.
Yeah, that's the gateway one, right? And so
I
remember I think I lost. I don't know what the minimum or whatever it was, but I know that I sat there for a while, ended up losing like $12, and because it must have been like $1 a game or something like that. Because
right.
Because if I sat there for a while, and I remember the coins. I remember it was coins, or it could have been chips, but whatever. And I remember the next day I went back to and I was at a cafe or something, and one of our mutual friends was like, "Hey kid, you try gambling?" I'm like, I'm never gonna do that again. I lost a lot of money last night. And he goes,
$12.
Yeah, he goes, how much? Like he's probably thinking like adult, what a lot. And I said $12, and he just laughed. He was just like $12. I was like, yeah, it's a lot to me. I mean, that's
I've had maybe the most demoralizing thing that can happen is when you're playing a game, and all the drinks are free, and the cocktail waitress comes over and goes, "What do you want to drink?" And you give her your drink order. By the time she comes back, you're too broke to tip her.
Yeah.
That is the worst thing that can happen when you're gambling.
Yeah, so you got to keep a little something in the back pocket. But let's hit some topics I wanted to ask you about. There's been all these banned books. It's been on the news, like banned books in Burbank, and I looked at a list of banned books, and I'm like, I actually remember reading some of these books. I didn't think they were that bad, but it's times change, things are weird. You don't know what direction they're coming from, and I still think there's lots of great works of art out there, and I'm all for like, listen, man, make your own decision. But and by the way, it might just be for that one school district, because I went on the Los Angeles Library app, and you can still get a lot of these books out there. In fact, my friend, real quick, one of the books was Huckleberry Finn, and my buddy Toogie Jackson, shout out to Toogie Jackson. I remember he told me he read Huckleberry Finn, like not even that long ago, and he told me how great it was. And he's a black guy, and he, so I don't know if it's a racial thing that the reason they're banning these books or.
That's definitely a big part of it with Huckleberry Finn. He drops N-bombs like you would not believe in that book. but it's kind of like authentic to the time period.
That's kind of the way I look at it, and I know you're not supposed to say that if you're, a redheaded, blue-eyed gentleman with freckles. You're supposed,
Right.
But I'm just telling you, when I read something like that, I'm like, okay, that was the time. And here's what's weird, and
It's like I get it,
yeah.
but it's like I get that. Yeah, it's a terrible word and it's very offensive, but the book is very anti-slavery, and Huck Finn literally helps his friend who is a slave escape.
Exactly,
And so I think there's a lot of merit to the book, but
Also, it's kind of weird that they would do that to these old books, and then like music that's being released all the time has those same words, and I'm like, stop making it into jingles because it's making kids like want to say it, and then get into trouble and whatnot. Like, and it was the reason I bring that up is because this kid got. I think the whole controversy started with this. This kid got in trouble, and when he's in the principal's office, he's like, "Well, I learned it from those books," like, which I doubt that he learned it from the books.
I doubt
he's
it,
saying
yeah.
that we know he's probably
Well, and the thing is, it's like it ultimately comes down to your intent.
Yes.
It's like in the book, he's saying it because it's a lot of the like poor people in that time period, which Huck Finn definitely was, talk that way. They would say stuff like that routinely, and they didn't mean anything by it. That was just the way they talked.
One of the books was of Mice and Men, and I'm like, and I don't really know why that would be on that list, and I remember having a great road trip one year, and I listened to that book on tape at the time, and it was read by Robert Blake was one of the guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was great.
It has to do with the woman being murdered, and
Yeah, tell me about I mean, they would spoof that in cartoons as a kid growing up. I mean, that's a famous story. For people that don't know of Mice and Men, tell us a little bit about Of Mice and Men.
Of Mice and Men is basically the story of these two workers during, I believe it's the Dust Bowl era. So it's a hard time to find work. And they're going with a lot of other workers from town to town, just doing field work at farms and stuff like that. Only one of them is pretty much just a normal guy. The other one is mentally challenged, but he's also hulkingly large. Yeah. He's like abnormally huge and very, very, very strong, and doesn't know his own strength. And you get the idea very quickly that part of why these guys have had to move from town to town isn't just the state of the world, but because the big guy keeps accidentally killing creatures, and it's implied that he might have killed a few people.
Yeah, George and Lenny.
And so their big plan is they're going to raise enough money doing farming work to one day get their own farm. And for the smarter guy, it's kind of like the idea of like, if I can just get him his own farm, I can keep him out of trouble and just keep him kind of like, there on his own farm. And to the dumber guy, he thinks that like if he has his own farm, he can handle the chickens and bunnies and stuff. He's all excited about getting to do that.
Yeah, because a lot of times he's like, "Tell me about the rabbits, George. Tell me about the rabbits."
Yeah, he's like, tell me about this great farm that we're gonna have.
It's almost basically like his method of calming him down. Like, oh, Lenny, there's going to be a sunset, and we're going to have for miles and miles of just.
Yeah, we're going to have fresh farm eggs every morning, and blah blah blah, all this stuff. And he's like, and we're going to have rabbits, and he goes, and I get to feed the rabbits. Like, yeah, you get to do all that. And so one thing leads to another, and eventually it goes wrong again. And I don't really want to spoil the book, but that's
it's a tearjerker.
It's a dark, sad story, but it was kind of like done to draw attention to the state of things for like the people in government to start fixing some things, because they were kind of twiddling their thumbs while all this was happening. I don't know if anyone could relate to that right now, but it was a time where politicians were real slow to fix things.
Yeah.
And,
I know. Or they step in and
books and stuff like that to to
Yeah,
draw their
man.
attention to it. You know.
Oh, let me ask you about this one. Okay, now this is great because just off the top of your head, I don't think this is on the banned list, but we were just talking about Charlotte's Web, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
that book should be banned. That book is.
and I'm like,
It
it's so funny because I was joking with my wife. I go, yeah, I'm gonna talk to Mike Black about different topics. Like, I go like Charlotte's Web, and she's like, you don't know about Charlotte's Web? I'm like, well, I know. I mean, there's a pig, a spider, and a farm. I go, what else is there? And she kind of had that look like, I don't know, like. But when you describe Charlotte's Web, and I hope you'll do that same thing for the listeners right now, it actually made me. I went to the library app and downloaded it because I'm like, I want to hear this again.
Yeah.
Tell us about Charlotte's Web.
Okay, so the basic deal is that this pig and spider on a farm. Everything takes place on a farm in a banned book, I guess. But this pig and spider kind of fall in love. They kind of become like soulmates, and they really like enjoy each other's company. But they can't do anything about it because spiders and pigs, it'd be gross.
Yeah.
And so they're having a good life though. Like she kind of builds her web.
Her name is Charlotte, and his name is Wilbur.
Wilbur. Yeah. And so she builds her web in the corner of his whatever you call it, trough or slop yard or whatever.
Pig pen.
So that they can hang out. And one day it becomes clear to her that the farmer is gonna kill the pig because they're gonna make ham or whatever. And she's like, oh, I can't let that happen. I love this pig. So she writes in her web, Wilbur is amazing or something like that. And the farmer sees it and is like, oh, shit, I can't kill the pig. I have to call the press, and so the pig becomes famous. And like every once in a while, the fame, it's really, I guess, kind of a story about fame and how fickle it is. Because about every week and a half or so, the fame starts to die off, and the farmer starts thinking, well, maybe I could kill the pig now, and then it'd be like celebrity ham.
Dang.
It'd be like really famous ham. And so she keeps having to write new things in her web about how great this pig is. And so she kind of gets it to where he wins like the state fair and stuff like that. And so then that's what happens. People don't know, but when a pig wins the state fair, that's the next step is they kill the pig.
Gosh. What if they did that with the Oscars?
Sell it off.
Yeah.
And they sell off lunch meat made out of Brad Pitt or whatever.
All right, bring in the new actors.
Yeah. I think most people wouldn't be entirely against that.
Yeah.
But so
we'd be like, no, I'm perfectly happy being cowboy number 5. I don't need to be the lead in this movie.
I'll stay here. I'm good.
I'm good.
But so she's like the kicker of the whole thing. It's a children's book. The sad part about it is spiders don't live anywhere near as long as pigs do naturally. So she's now like an old lady. And she basically dies. And so Wilbur's left there crying. And not only is he sad that she's going to die, but now he's lost his hype man. No one's, going to protect him from the farmer anymore. And, but what happened is she had left her egg sac in the pig pen and it hatches. And now he has to take care of like 1,000 baby spiders.
Oh.
And he's got to teach them to spell real quick. Because he's like,
Come
I've got
on,
about
guys,
a week.
let's get it together. I got another state fair coming up.
Or I'm dead, And that's pretty much where the book ends.
Yeah.
And there's like all the other animals on the farm are like loosely invested in all of this.
Yeah.
They all like them and everything. But that there are chickens on that farm. They were like, that bitch couldn't spare like one web to save all of us.
Yeah. Hey, I thought of a dumb joke as you were saying this. Hey, do you know how Charlotte and Wilbur met?
How?
On the web.
Hey.
Let's ban that joke.
Yeah, ban jokes in Burbank.
Ban jokes in Burbank. I think they are. I think the governor's banning a lot of jokes in California right now.
No jokes about airplane food. I don't want to hear any more how bad 2020 is jokes.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. People are like 2021. Oh boy, new year. I'm like, it's still going to be. I don't know, man. I'm just,
like I think it'll be a good year, but I don't think it's going to just. I think it's still. We still have a long road to hoe.
Right. Let me ask you about Smokey and the Bandit. See, I got that on my DVR. I'm ready to. I watched about 10 minutes of it, and I'm like, yes, because I remember it, but I don't remember like the details of it.
What do you think? I think a legend and an out of work bum look a lot alike, Daddy. That movie is so great. First of all, best Burt Reynolds movie ever.
Oh,
just the way he was used in that movie was perfect. Okay, so that scene that I just referenced, where it's Big Ennis and Little Ennis, the father and son,
which
hire him.
It cracked me up because I didn't remember any of that. I just see the big, I want to say Cadillac move, like roll into the rodeo yard, rodeo grounds, and I see the what are the license plates say, like Mr. Big or Big, maybe. And then these two cowboys get out, and one is like 6'7", and the other guy looks like he's like 5'1", and it just looked that visually looked hilarious, like Pat McCormick
and they're wearing
Paul
like
Williams.
These powder blue Texas oil tycoon clothes and the white cowboy hats. And the taller one was on a bunch of different TV shows, but great character actor. I forget his name.
Pat McCormick.
Pat McCormick, yes, he's great. And the shorter one was and still is the great Paul Williams, singer-songwriter, probably best known for writing all of the music for the Muppet movie.
Yeah. Why are there so many songs about rainbows?
He wrote that, and he wrote a great rock comedy, dark comedy opera called Phantom of the Paradise, which is a late 70s, early 80s Brian De Palma. It's almost like if Rocky Horror Picture Show was the main course, Phantom of the Paradise would make a great dessert. Like, it's just that kind of out there sort of movie. And it's like a disco take on Phantom of the Opera. And he plays the devil in it, and he's great. He also voiced the Penguin on Batman the Animated Series.
He's great. Whenever I hear him in an interview, it's just so funny, and he's very humble now. I think he even has a podcast or a book called Gratitude and something else. Like,
just real interesting guy. But that scene where they meet the bandit and he's in the hammock and he's got the cowboy hat down over his face.
Yeah.
And he looks up and the cowboy hat lifts and he just immediately has that famous that kind of laugh that he does.
Yeah.
The director saw him sleeping in a hammock and he knew that he hadn't seen those two yet. So that actual laugh is his real laugh at seeing them for the first time.
Oh, it's just side by side dressed like that? That's so cool.
Yeah, he was like, I'm just set up the shot while he's sleeping and then we'll wake him up.
That is gold. That's gold because that's a scene so my family, my wife and some were in the kitchen and I was watching the movie because they were interested in something else, right? And as soon as I saw those two on camera for the first time, I'm like, oh my gosh! And then I rewound it. I hit pause. I go, you guys got to come check this out. Come check this. Like, it's that much of an impact. We're like just visually, So I could see why the director was like, this is hilarious, and this
is way too good to waste. And so the director is legendary, and that word gets tossed around a lot, but this guy actually is. His name was Hal Needham, and he was a stuntman for most of his life. Helped sponsor the car that broke the sound barrier.
Wow.
Did a a stunt. I believe it was in the movie Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. Back when they were doing all those like car chase, white line nightmare sort of movies, that where he was thrown from a car through a billboard.
Oh my gosh.
And they were like, had it been an inch to the right or to the left, he would be dead. So he was kind of like the Jackie Chan of his day, where he was like just doing all this stunt work, and he was Burt Reynolds' stunt man for a long time, and they worked on a bunch of movies together. And he tells Burt Reynolds, hey, I have this idea for this movie, Smokey and the Bandit, that I wrote. I think it could be really good. It's about my old liquor running days and stuff like that, where you would illegally run liquor from county to county and stuff like that. Pretty much what the Dukes of Hazzard was based on.
Yep.
This guy was doing it in real life.
Wow. And, there was a lot of, we got to get from what was it? You got to go from Atlanta, you got to go to Texarkana, pick up the beer, and then race it back to Atlanta. And that was like the goal of the movie, like those rich oil
and
guys.
It was highly illegal. And so what they would do is they would get one guy in a fast car, and then they would have a truck or sometimes a series of trucks that were his blocker. That would, like, if the cops started chasing him, the truck would literally block the freeway so that they could keep going, And so it was like a whole sophisticated system, and they did a pretty good job of laying it out in the movie. But so anyway, he tells Burt Reynolds, hey, I have this idea for a movie. Do you think you could maybe show it to someone or something like that? And he goes, I'll do one better. He was the number one draw in America at the time. He goes, I'll star in it, and I won't do it until they let you direct it.
Wow. What a friend.
Which is an unheard of deal, even like now, like no one ever does stuff like that where they go that far out on a limb. And the guy was like, I had no directing experience whatsoever. And he trusted me to do it. And that movie's pretty damn good.
And I mean, it involves a lot of stuff of the time, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff back then, like truck driving, CB radios,
a lot of the culture.
Country music, like a lot of, I don't know, man. It was.
Yeah. And because of him, he got Jackie Gleason, the great Jackie Gleason, to play the sheriff in it, who the one who's chasing the bandit. And they cast Sally Fields, who the chemistry between her and Burt Reynolds is just off the charts.
I think they actually dated after that movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and they're both just terrific in it. The whole cast is like kind of a who's who of great character actors.
Jerry
Reed is terrific in it.
And then he does the themes, Eastbound and Down.
Yeah, one of the best theme songs ever. And Jerry Reed also, if you want to see a really, really good movie that's kind of like nobody knows about, it's like a hidden gem. There's a movie called The Survivors, starring Robin Williams and Walter Matthau. And it's all about how these two guys get robbed at a coffee shop. And one of them just kind of tries to move on with his life, but meanwhile his friend Robin Williams goes like survival nut crazy. He has kind of like a breakdown after it happens and starts buying all these guns and stuff like that. And the guy who robbed them was Jerry Reed. And Jerry Reed is basically, at that time in the 80s, the economy was so bad that those two guys were getting robbed. B, they'd both just been fired recently. And C, the guy robbing them was the same guy who had killed Jimmy Hoffa, but now he was demoted to robbing people because the economy was that bad.
Wow.
And so the whole movie is like this great statement on the economy, but it's really, really funny too. And it has maybe the best, funniest gunfight between Robin Williams and Jerry Reed in the finale of the movie.
Oh man, I gotta look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, it's called The Survivors. Everyone should see it.
You know what
Jerry Reed plays like a cold-blooded hitman, and he's amazing.
You know what I want to watch? I want to watch a movie about, maybe you know about this. There's something I always was fascinated with, like people walking a really long distance. Like I read a book with Stephen King. It was called the Bachman books when he would write under another name. I think Richard Bachman, I want to say. And
Yeah.
it just kind of fascinated me because that's something that, I've done, I've gone on long walks, but nothing crazy. And your mind would be like, what would it be like if I just had to keep walking and walking and walking? And there's a book that I read. Well, actually, I wouldn't say I read it. I listened to it. It's an audio book. It's by Bill Bryson, and it's called A Walk in the Woods. And I understand they made a movie out of it, but I've read the reviews, and everybody says, and I hate to say this, the book is better, but they say that the book actually is better. And I've seen clips of the movie.
And the movie is also called A Walk in the Woods?
I believe so. And the clips that I saw, I was like, oh, this isn't even nothing like the book. Because in that book,
I saw a short film on YouPorn called A Whack in the Woods.
Yeah.
Probably different. Probably not even based on the book.
Exactly. No, a walk in a walk in the woods. It was like this guy wanted to walk the Appalachian Trail, starting in the south and then working his way all up toward like New Hampshire, Canada.
That is a big deal too. That is a rough trail.
And I guess people do it. They do it. I forget the phrase for it, but basically, there's people who do it all in one take, where they try to map it out. Where they're like, okay, well, I'll start in the winter in the south. That way, as I'm working my way up, it's spring and gets the summer by the time I get to the top. And then
I don't remember who was in it, but I saw some movie where two old guys did that.
I wonder if I don't know. But I think something like that would be I'd like to watch a movie about that or something, like
there's plenty of movies where people walk through the woods. The Lord of the Rings, a good 40 minutes of that is just people walking through the forest.
That sounds kind of scary. Like, by the way, did you ever see, I never did, but I just listened to an interview with Bruce Dern, and it was called, and he talked about The Hateful Eight. Is it called The Hateful Eight? I never saw it, but he said that they filmed it up at Telluride, and they would. He said that they were even, the only people he saw up there were like skiers and snowboarders, and he said they were 2,000 feet even above them, and they were all in this cabin, and he said the warmest it ever got was like 22 degrees. And then and then when they weren't in there, they were on a sound stage, and they made the sound stage like 26 degrees. And he said the reason they did that, I guess, so you could see the fog or whatever come out of their mouth when they're talking, and
I would if I were one of the richer actors, I would just pay them and go, hey, why don't we get one of the CGI guys to do this?
Yeah,
and just animate Cold Breath, because this is bullshit.
Exactly. How was that movie?
22 degrees sucks.
I know. Is it? I wonder how like the camera lenses and stuff. I wonder if those fogged. I wonder how they. I mean, yeah, it's weird. Right?
I'm all for realism to a point, but like,
can't we make it like 40 degrees or something? Like,
I always think of that Dustin Hoffman story with I want to say it's Sir Laurence Olivier, but they're doing a torture scene. The movie is Marathon Man. I remember that much, but where he's torturing Dustin Hoffman by like pulling on his teeth and stuff.
Oh gosh.
And while he's doing it, he's like, is it safe? And he doesn't know what the guy's talking about. So he's just like, is what safe? And so the guy just, okay, and keeps pulling on his teeth. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, is it safe? And he's like, stop it, So it's a real exhausting scene. And so Dustin Hoffman tells him, he was like, I stayed up all night last night screaming at the top of my lungs. And I actually had my dentist pull one of my teeth so I would know what it felt like.
Oh my gosh.
To do this. And Laurence Olivier looked at him and he goes, you could just try acting.
I know.
And it's like, that's kind of how I feel on a lot of that sort of stuff,
Yeah. Exactly.
Then again, I don't get hired very often. So
exactly.
That might have something to do.
I mean, is it going to be that much better? That's what my mind would be like. Is it going to be that much better? It's going to be,
It better be if you're doing all that stuff,
Yeah, that'd be funny to do like a blind test. Which one was the
more believable,
acting one or the one where he really did? Yeah, it's like.
I remember an old Far Side where there's just it said acting lessons was the caption. And it just showed the teacher pointing to the blackboard, and on the board it just said pretend.
Exactly. That's what I thought that they were going to ask Bruce Dern. They said, well, do you have any acting tips for, and I thought he was going to say, just pretend. But he basically said, like, it starts with your heart, and then you follow your belief with your heart, whatever. But I'm thinking that's what, like, real, like, but not the parts that, that I'm going out for, like, here's your pizza. Like, there's not really a lot of heart.
Well, what he's saying is a very artistic way of saying pretend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Make it as real as you can in your mind.
Yeah.
That's it. That's.
Oh, you know what? This is okay. Now we're gonna move on to the topic of Christmas gifts, because I got a Christmas gift for Christmas. It was believe it or not, I got a toothbrush / water pick, and I don't know if you've ever used one of those, but. It's actually really good, man. It feels like
Are they nice?
Oh, it massages your gums. And I talked to my dentist about it before I got it. And this is a helpful hint to anybody out there. He said only use it on low or medium. Don't turn it all the way up to high, because I guess it could be a little bit dangerous or something.
Just blast your teeth off.
Yeah, exactly. Like power hose, like a car wash. Like I remember one time when I was about 7. My cousin took me to the car wash, and like those power jets, like I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I thought, what would happen if I put my thumb over it, like I do at the garden hose at home, and I
blast your thumb off?
Yeah, I put my thumb over it, and I immediately I got like it cut it open, and I was like, ugh, don't do that again, But so I used the water pick, and then I read the instructions, which isn't how you're supposed to do it. But luckily my dentist said to use it on low and then medium, and then in the instructions they say like. Don't use this water pick in your nasal cavity or your ears.
Right.
Yeah, because some people probably think, oh, that'd feel really good, but don't do that. And it also said don't use it under your tongue, which I didn't think, because I guess that's probably really thin layer of whatever. Like you might be able to hurt yourself if you under your tongue.
These are all ways of them dancing around saying, please don't use it as a sex device.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
They're like, we can't flat out say it, but hopefully... If we tell you not to do it on these other parts, you won't do it on those parts.
Exactly. Yeah, there's somebody who's somewhere like, you know what? This is hey, honey, I bought myself a bidet.
You know where this would feel great.
It doubles as a toothbrush. No, that's gross.
But yeah, and they're smart too, because my thinking would be, I'm 45 years old. I should probably crank this up to the highest setting.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, yeah, you'd want to just and it's Oh, another thing they said is when you turn on the water pick part, like aim it toward the sink, because what happens is, and I didn't do this because I didn't read the instructions. You're looking at it, and the thing is like shooting up at the ceiling or whatever. Like you're like, oh damn, my shirt got all wet. Like
you accidentally lobotomize yourself with the water pick.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That was
what a horrifying Christmas that would be.
I know.
For everyone else.
Yeah, that's
So wait, what happened to your husband again? Oh, I got him one of those water picks for Christmas.
Yeah.
Blew his brains out with it.
So I got that, and
now he can only eat soup.
Cold soup, actually. Yeah.
He just sits in the corner.
Another thing that I've been wanting for a long time, and it's really cool, is like a lavalier mic. I got a lavalier mic, and I'm looking forward to comedy clubs being open, because I want to put my
your lavalier mic.
Yeah, I want to put the camera in the back of the room and see what it's like to do a set and be able to pick up my voice clearly, because, I mean, it's cool if the club has a setup, but haven't you seen like a buddy will film you and you're just like, it doesn't quite sound right, man. It's like, it's very echoey and, so I'm looking forward to using that new piece of tech. How about yourself? Did you treat yourself, or did you get something for Christmas that?
I mostly just bought a bunch of Star Wars crap for myself, and a few video games were on sale, so I got a few of those, and just nothing practical. I'm a big believer in no practical gifts.
Oh, so that's good. See, I'm the opposite. I'm like, can I wear this on stage? Okay, I'll buy it. Like, I never really buy
I kind of feel like, especially for other people, I'm not giving anyone like socks or underwear, because they need to buy that for themselves anyway.
Yeah.
They're going to get those things at some point because they have to. I'd rather get them something that they would never buy, or that they would like to have, but they're spending all their money on socks and underwear and stuff, So I'm the same with myself. Like if I'm getting myself a Christmas present, it's going to be like something virtually useless. You know.
Here's a question for you. I've been doing this lately on some of the podcasts. It's questions. It's called like 5 questions of happiness, and we may get to all 5 of them. We might not. But let me ask you this: what is something you've recently discovered or rediscovered that's made you happy?
Something I've recently discovered or rediscovered that's made me happy. Okay, I've been getting a lot of packages lately, obviously, like we all have. I've gotten into bubble wrap again.
See, that's cool.
But I don't like to pop. It's rare that you get the little poppy kind anymore.
Yeah.
And I like popping those. But usually now you get these big air pillows, big plastic air pillows.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of satisfaction. This is so stupid. In bunching a couple of them up and like stabbing them with a knife.
Dude, you got to film this and put it on your YouTube channel.
Because I think people aren't careful enough with knives and they don't know a lot about their lungs. But that's basically what would happen to your lung if you got stabbed with a knife.
Oh my God. You took it to a next level.
Well, and it's like people don't like, you hear about someone's lung collapsing and you're like, how bad could that be? Real bad. It's horrible.
Oh, shit.
You know, and so, because it can't ever get air again until it's fixed.
Hey, Mike, this segment's called 5 Things of Happiness.
It makes me happy that I have a knife that could do like 8 lungs at once.
I'm like, damn. I'm actually clutching my neck and chest right now.
It looks cool because as long as the knife is still in there, the air will stay in there.
Oh, gosh.
But as soon as you take it out, all the air just leaves.
Oh.
Never to return, you know.
Well, this took a dark turn, buddy.
It's fun. It's, if you try it, you'll be like, oh, this is, I get what he's talking about. This is very satisfying.
That's funny. Now I'm going to look like a creep because I have a knife right over there, and I'm going to be like, hey, honey, did we get any packages lately with air pockets with bubbles?
Just opening a package with a knife is fun, but you got to be careful doing that.
Yeah. You know what? I know the knife has the lock on it, but when I was about 8, I stabbed a knife into the board, and it didn't have a lock on it, and it started to close, and I had to go to the emergency room. So I've always been a little...
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You have a knife with a lock on it?
No, it didn't. I don't think it had a lock. I don't think that knife had a lock back in the 70s, and I was learning to whittle, and so I was whittling some wood and trying to carve something out. And at the end, I stabbed the knife into the board, but then the knife closed. It didn't stay, straight out. It closed on my pinky, and I ended up having to go to the emergency room.
Jesus.
Yeah. So now I've always been like, are you sure this knife was locked? Like, I know they have locks on them, so you got to make sure it's locked. It doesn't close.
What do you mean by locked?
Oh, when you open up the knife, it should go.
Oh, you're talking about like a pocket knife or a switchblade or something like that.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I was like, what does he mean?
What you're using like a butter knife or something?
Yeah, you can use any old, like a fork will do the trick.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, I was talking like a big ass 5-inch blade,
But yeah, you can use a steak knife, that sort of thing. Any old knife will do. It's just fun. It's just a bigger version of popping the little air bubbles.
You really should film it, man. I think people they'd get a kick out of that. Just the mundane little fun stuff that, that you never know. That could be the viral video that takes you to the next level.
I guess it's fun. Sometimes you just pretend you're Wolverine and they're all a bunch of bad guys.
And then yeah, exactly. Film yourself. It'll go viral, and then you'll be the next Brad Pitt, and you get an Oscar.
Yes.
Some director out there is like, I need this guy. Let's locate him.
Okay, what's the next question of happiness?
Next question of happiness. What is something you've eaten recently that's made you happy? Like something, not just a normal meal to sustain life. We're talking like this is something, and I'll start first. I'll go first. And then,
okay.
And that was, there's around Christmas, there's always Christmas cookies and pies, and it's all delicious. But
yes.
I had, and I think that I think I ate this entire box by myself. I'm not sure who else had some, but I know for sure one night I finished the box, and that was C's Candy Peanut Brittle. I love peanut brittle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so for
Peanut
me,
brittle is pretty great.
it was pretty.
I had just, this is not the thing that I want to talk about, but I recently had toffee covered popcorn, and that is a good time. But the thing that I had recently is C's Candy. Every year around the holidays through Easter, they make these chocolate covered marshmallows. And sometimes, if you find the right one, they will have a layer of caramel inside. Or the marshmallow itself will be butterscotch flavored.
Nice.
And that is some good eating. Normally they're shaped like Santa or a Halloween pumpkin or something like that. You just got to find the ones that say caramel or butterscotch. And they cost you can get 3 of them for $1. So you can get a dangerous amount of them if you're not careful.
I know, man. That's the thing. I just gotta, I don't mind eating peanut brittle, but then I'm like, okay, I chill on that kind of stuff for the next day or two. Just don't, I don't want to.
Yeah, when I did the toffee popcorn the next day, my teeth hurt, and I was like, ooh, I better be careful.
See, I that's funny because it's funny you said that because I did the peanut brittle and then I drank a bunch of water and I thought, I'm gonna go use my water pick, and I it was great. It was like 2 Christmas gifts in one, okay, here's the next question. What is and I'll go first. Your favorite form of exercise? And remember, let's keep this family friendly.
Right.
But I gotta say, my new favorite one is I have a pickaxe. It's just picture like a sledgehammer, but a pickaxe. And I like using that pickaxe, and I'll do sets of 25. I'll do 25, and then rest. Sometimes I'll just leave it at the 25, and then sometimes I'll keep and that's in between doing other forms of exercise. But there's something about lifting that thing over your head and slamming it down into the ground and making a little tiny hole and picking it up, and, almost like you're, I've been working on the railroad.
You were judging me for stabbing the
exactly
plastic balloons.
Yeah, I pretend it's somebody's brain. No, yeah. No, I just the one thing that I am afraid of, though, a little bit, not afraid, too afraid, but every now and then, because right now I'm up at the farm near Fresno. There are a couple of I'm not going to say they're stray cats because they were originally, but they're starting to hang around, and one of them is black, and I've been and I've been afraid that she'll somehow not know what I'm doing and then dart out in front of me right at that moment that the thing starts to connect with the earth, and she'll get between the blade and the earth, and I would be like, that would be horrible. I don't think the cat's going to do that, and I usually make sure there's nobody around me or no animals, but that is a kind of a weird thought that crossed my mind of what if I'm mid-swing and a squirrel or something is runs in front of me.
Squirrel I wouldn't worry about. If you kill a black cat, you're in trouble with a witch.
Exactly.
And you don't want that. That's bad heat.
Yeah. And I also try to make sure I face away from, because what if the thing, God forbid, flies out of your hands and
Can you imagine you just killed a cat with a pickaxe?
Yeah.
And you turn around and there's a witch right there.
Oh, dude, that would freak you out.
Just the worst. That would be the worst.
Yeah. Okay, now what's your favorite form of exercise?
Oh God, I don't really have one.
I
guess.
How do I narrow it down to one?
There's one called an axe handle, but it's more like a sideways turn. You use a weighted cord.
Oh yeah.
And you pull it sideways like you're swinging a sword.
Like a bungee or something, like a bungee type of cord.
And it's really good for the muscles along your sides. And I just discovered that this year, and I was like, oh, I like this exercise. Because I've felt like that area was kind of underdeveloped, so it's good to strengthen it,
That really is that. They called that your core or whatever. And I noticed when I would go to the boxing gym, they had me do that. They would take this cord and they would wrap it around a pole, and he's like, almost like you're swinging a baseball bat. And he's like, now just
right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that I think a lot of us can strengthen our ab area. Like I need to do planks again because when I was trying to do planks, or I'm sorry, when I hadn't done planks in a while, it was hard to even do a plank for a minute. And I'm probably back there again where I'm like, okay, even though I do my sit-ups every now and then, almost daily, like I do 50 at least, but to be able to control yourself with a plank, then that'll really strengthen your inner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Last
What's
question.
number 4?
What is the last? What's the last song that recently made you happy? Something when you heard it and you're like, oh yeah, I like that one. That one puts me in a good mood.
It was a Wesley Willis song about Christmas.
Oh.
Do you know Wesley Willis?
Not familiar, I don't think.
I believe he was schizophrenic, but he wrote, I think his most famous song was called I Whooped Batman's Ass. And I think he's talking about the Batman on Hollywood Boulevard. But he wouldn't really sing so much as talk. He would go, I whooped Batman's ass. Batman called me a punk and knocked me to the floor. So I got up and I knocked him to the floor. I whooped Batman's ass. Like that's how his songs go.
His name is Wesley Willis?
Yeah. And he was known for headbutting his fans. Like they would come up to stage dive and he would headbutt them.
Oh my gosh.
And he had a song called I'm Sorry That I Got Fat, which was him apologizing to the world for eating too much McDonald's.
That's funny. I'm going to look up Wesley Willis after this podcast.
Yeah, he's got a lot of fun songs. They're all very similar, but they're a lot of fun.
That's cool.
And they always end with like some popular slogan. Like I think that song ends with Tower Records, the difference is selection.
That's cool. So that's just creative. He's not trying to be like, oh, I probably shouldn't say Batman. I might be a lawsuit.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't say Tower Records slogan. It's like,
right. He was just out of his gourd.
What's the Christmas? Do you remember the Christmas song? What it was called?
I don't. Someone
Google
was playing it like on a local college station, and I overheard it, and I was like, "Is that Wesley Willis singing a Christmas song? That's great."
That's awesome. Well, Mike, it was great having you on the Pocket Party podcast, and this will
really
be up soon.
I had a great time. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm gonna circle some of the topics that we didn't hit, and we'll get you on next time, and we'll discuss those. Oh my God, there's so much.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Mike. Hey, any words of wisdom for anybody out there for going into the new year? Anything?
Don't watch the new Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I like the young. I like the young Wonder Woman. I liked Wonder.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, I know. I liked Wonder Woman when I was young with Linda Carter. And what's the deal with this now? I think she's in the movie now.
She has a cameo in it. The first one was really good. This one seems like what I think people who don't like comic book movies think that they're like. That bad. It's where it's just like, ugh. I wouldn't like comic book movies either if this was the only one that I saw.
Beautiful. Well, there's so much great art that's been made already. So I'm gonna go back and watch Smokey and the Bandit. I'm gonna look up Wesley Willis. I'm gonna get Charlotte's Web for my by using a free app called Libby. You can get free library books to your phone. Libby, Libby.
Yep. The one if you only take away one thing from this podcast for you and your family, it would be Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, yes. I'm going to look up Little Shop of Horrors. Man, with all those people in there, that sounds like great. It sounds so good.
I think you guys will get a kick out of it.
You're the best. Mike, thank you so much, man. And
thank you, buddy. Have a great, have a happy New Year.
You too, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, look at you. You made it all the way through. That was fun, right? Mike Black, man. What a great guy. All right, so listen, you guys, if you want to help out this podcast, go to DarrenCarter.com, hit that PayPal button, and it definitely, because every little bit helps. If you're more of a Venmo person, I'm at Darren Carter on Venmo, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. If it's $1, if it's $2, if it's $5, whatever you want to donate, whatever you want to help, it helps the show. All right, guys, Happy New Year. Have a great one, and don't hurt nobody, and be careful.
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, then listen to the Pocket party.